How to make a sparse vining plant full again. So it looks like this plant has a little bit of root rot. The customer brought it in because she wants it repotted and to make it full again. So we're going to go through the process of exactly how to do that. First things first, we have to take care of the roots. So let's get it out of here and assess that situation, as that will dictate our next move. All right, you can see it's all kind of falling away. Usually an indication that there aren't very many roots, or at least not very many healthy roots. This vine doesn't even have roots, it's completely detached. But luckily we do have a good little bit of healthy roots right here. The rest is all sort of melted away, but this is good news. This is actually better than I thought. We do have quite a bit of dead roots here in the soil as well, confirming that root rot that I was talking about. Let me show you some of these dead matter that we have going on here. You can see the dead roots in there. Okay, let's clean up our workspace and then we'll go on to the next step. If we don't take care of the roots first, then the entire plant is going to go south. So that's priority number one. Can't make a plant full if it doesn't have any healthy roots. All right. We're much cleaner now. Now there could be present rotting bacteria on the soil that is attached to the roots right now. So what we want to do, using 3% hydrogen peroxide, straight, we haven't diluted it at all, we're going to spray the roots down. And I am running out of hydrogen peroxide. Normally I would just spray them down, but because I don't have very much left, I can hear some in the bottle, but it's not spraying out for some reason. So I'm just going to soak these roots in it really quick. There we go. We'll swirl it around, make sure we're hitting all the roots in there. There we go. Now they have been sanitized, so that bacteria will no longer spread even if it is still present. So now we're working with a healthy root system. Let's get it back in a pot. I'm actually just going to reuse the pot that she had. Definitely don't need to go up in pot size as we lost most of the roots. Now I'm going to be using isopropyl alcohol to sanitize the plastic. You can use hydrogen peroxide to sanitize both surfaces, but you can't use alcohol on roots. Make sure it's nice and clean. Again, this is just a cleanliness thing, making sure we cover all our bases. This is a customer's plant, so I definitely want to do right by it. Let's put that back. Okay, now we're dealing with a nice, fresh, clean pot. Now I want to use a very chunky mixture for this project, and I'll tell you why. I'm using 1 part peat moss and 3 parts cocoa chips for this mixture. Gonna dump some in, create a little oh, that was way too much. Dump some out. Put the roots back in here. Now I'm actually going to cut this bottom leaf off because I want to bury it. I want to bury it past that node. And if I don't cut the leaf off, it'll just rot anyway, and it's on its way out, starting to die off. Yellow up and die off. So now I'm going to backfill. Slap that pot. Soil settled in all around those roots. Let's keep going. Press it down very, very lightly. Now, the reason I want to use a super chunky mixture right here, this plant needs to develop roots. Doesn't have very many roots, so we want to encourage that. One of the main things that encourages rapid root growth is airflow. The chunkier your mixture, the chunks don't fit together, so there's a lot of air gaps in between each of the chunks. If I were to use a finer mixture, those finer particles, they come together much closer. The closer the particles, the less airflow. The chunkier the particles, more airflow, better root development. Let's clean this up and then we can get to the fun part. I've got some wire here and I'm going to cut it up into some smaller pieces. You can also use bobby pins for this part or any sort of clips that you have. I'll show you what I mean here. I'm cutting them about 3 inches in length. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be super accurate. And then I'm just going to bend them in sort of a U shape, like that. So this is how we're going to refill the top. I want you to notice these nodes that are along the vine. A node is anywhere the leaf comes out of the main stem or where it has already been out of the main stem. Also indicated by these little nubs right there, these little brown nubs. I'm actually going to water my soil first because this works a lot better when it's been watered. All right, we'll just leave that to soak for the minute. So now the idea is wherever these nodes are, we want to pin them down to the soil. When these nodes come in contact with soil, or anything wet really, they're going to start to root in. And that's the process we are encouraging. So we're going to put those pins right where the nodes are, and we're going to pin them down so they're coming in contact with the soil. There's no rhyme or reason to it. You kind of fiddle around with it until you like the way it looks. The main thing is we just get those nodes to come in contact with the soil. Get down in there. Yes, that's a good pin. Now this one over here. Careful not to break any of the stems. This is why it helps to do several pins to keep it really secured down onto it. Now, over the next several weeks, roots are going to start forming right where those nodes are. The roots are going to form, and then more vines are going to grow from the top. So in my opinion, this is better than cuttings because when you take a cutting, you're opening the plant up to risk of bacteria infection, etc. from the open wound, and then you have to hope that it roots, which they do really have high success rates. But here, you're using the energy of the mother plant. It's still, everything is still intact. Everything is still attached to the main root system. This is a very natural way for the plant to root in. You can imagine them crawling along a forest floor, just the nodes coming into contact with the soil, rooting in, more vines coming out, more of them rooting in until you get this large mat, until they climb over to a tree and then start climbing upwards as well. So you're really taking advantage of the plant's natural way of propagating. And using that energy from the mother plant is a huge advantage. Now I'm going to encourage this customer to place this plant in bright light, water it when it's about 25% dry, just taking care of the plant normally as you would, and those roots are going to develop and more vines are going to fill in all of these gaps. And that is how you achieve a full and bushy vining plant that may have gone bald.